All right. Everybody, welcome to the inaugural, the pilot episode of 1123's podcast. This is where agency people prove to everyone else who's not an agency person or who might be in marketing that we're completely insane. No, there's a lot of stories that we have. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the background of the agency, how myself, Chief Creative Officer Dave DeStefano, and CEO Shana Boyd started the agency. There's a lot of fun anecdotes. There's a lot of there may be laughing and crying in this episode. So get ready, get your Kleenex. Before we begin all the way, I will say that we would love it if you liked and subscribed, followed, and gave us that attention. We'll have lots more content in the future. So 10 years behind us.
And 10 titles.
And 10 titles.
I don't know.
Yeah, so many business cards that I didn't hand out.
Right.
So if we looked back and looked at what is our why? What was our why when we started? What's the ambition? I can say for me, the beginning of the agency was kind of like a long time dream of owning a business. I grew up that way. And so I wanted that. I saw my dad do that. And so I was creative, definitely, drew since I was in second grade and fell in love with that stuff. I just wanted to do that. I was really interested in the fast pace, the snappy thinking, the quick, think on your feet part of advertising. And then also seeing something through and making it work, just the effectiveness of an ad campaign. So what about you?
Yeah, for me, kind of the opposite, actually. I never thought I would be owning anything. I always was kind of fine behind the scenes or, just being a media buyer. Not just, it's an important job, but I always had kind of that, I don't know that I was ever going to be even an account manager. That just wasn't in my view. So I feel like I had different people that kind of saw stuff in me and kind of propelled me in this direction. You being one of them, of course. You're like, hey, we're going to start an agency. What do you think? Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. Let me think on that a little more. But no, it sounded amazing because the more and more we talked about it, I mean, to have kind of that full service arm, media and creative under one roof, I mean, it made sense. And there weren't a lot of people that were doing that here. So even for me personally, even though I feel like maybe I didn't have that automatic confidence personally when we started, I would say I'd thank you for kind of bringing me forward and I don't know, helping me grow. And now I couldn't imagine any other way.
This is where the Kleenex part.
Oh,
we got there really quick. So yeah, no, I feel like sometimes maybe I did do a little pushing, but I think we did that with each other. And that's why the dynamic of the agency, at the beginnings was what it was. We sort of counterbalanced each other in moments.
Oh yeah. We've always had that. If one of us is I don't know, the other one's we got this, yeah. Then it's the opposite. So I feel like it's actually good. We're good balance.
Right. I had worked at my second agency. Before that, I had done God knows what, everything in design, just kind of bouncing around, signs, cars, the whole thing. I know you had two agencies prior, or actually three agencies prior before we launched off, right?
Yeah. Two of them you and I worked at together. And then I was at a previous firm. That was soon out of college. Yeah. So yeah, I started at World Herald actually first. And then I went to an agency. And then from there, it was I think I really want to go down a path of media buying. So at the initial agency, I was an account coordinator. And then you and I met at another firm and kind of, went and started another firm together, but weren't owners at the time. So yeah, been at agencies for a while.
Yeah.
But I think like you said too, just kind of going backwards a little. I think that's something that was important to note too, is not just agency owners, but I feel like business professionals, the more we got into owning an agency, we kind of learned owners of other businesses, I feel go through that same mental struggle as well. You're always kind of guessing am I making the right decision? Am I doing the right thing for my business? So I think the more we kind of owned our agency, I realized this was actually very normal. And we kept, finding ourselves in those situations where even the businesses we worked with, we were guiding each other forward, the brands forward, us forward, the agency forward.
For business owners, for somebody who's wanting to start something, What do you think the biggest, like the most important thing is? Is it drive? Is it, the dream? What is it? What are the most important things when you're starting a business that you have to sort of like keep in your head or like persevere through?
I think that's a good question because I think it changed a few times for me, but I would say the two things, like you have to have drive, like you have to, because I mean, it's long hours. Right. Like your day just doesn't end at first. I mean, it was just you and we didn't have a team at that point. So I think you have to have drive. You have to be really curious and want to be an expert and get your hands dirty and do the work. Right. I do believe the best dynamic of a business owner is when you've actually done a lot of the jobs that even as you grow for a little while, you're tasking other people to then do. You've done it. I would say there's things now that I did not know how to do. And now we're hiring people that jump in and do those things. But initially, like, man, we had to dig in. I'm trying to think what it would be there was another like thought I had there, but now I forgot. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I
coffee. Coffee
is really important. Which is, God, what an amazing segue. One of the big things that we did that we had to do because we were starting the company was to go out and, prospect, go out and do, meetings and try and chase things down. And it was a matter of like, okay, let's make a list. What accounts would we love to have? What industries would we love to work in? And at the time we had just gotten started. We didn't have, I think, but one account, which was a big one. I mean, it was an athletic. It was a basketball team. Then. Yeah, it was. Two. I can say that it was the Creighton basketball, and it was
Cunningham's.
Yeah, the grill and bar. So like that's where we started. We did want to get a coffee client because we drank so much of it to keep ourselves going. So that was where one of our prospecting kind of like boots on the ground things that we did was to go drive around and like drive through. This was your idea.
Yeah. I was like, let's just go through every scooters and take pictures with the baristas that we now know by name at this point. And then we did like a little foam core board collage and we took all those photos and then what do we say on the bottom of it? Like, this is how we scooters.
I said something like that. And you looked at me and you said, no, that's you. Dang, that's another campaign slogan.
Is that the Sonic?
It was. I think it was the Sonic. It was the Sonic thing.
Okay.
Sorry,
I remember where we landed. Then we just dropped that off with a hope and a prayer, and then there were no prayers answered at that point. So we didn't get them yet. Nothing. Yeah. No persistence. Though. I think I was emailing the marketing director, calling. We even stopped in a couple more times, dropped stuff off, and then. It was like once a week kind of thing. Right. And then I think I had sent her the Creighton video work once it was done. Yeah. And that's when she emailed and said, can I come down and check out the studio?
Yeah.
I'm like, we're in. Scooters is interested. This is awesome.
Yeah. So we were excited about that. And that blossomed into, that one ended up being quite a few years working with them and branding campagins, birthday stuff, and franchise development help.
We took them from 80 stores to 80 stores to 750.
That prospecting part of our agency life in the beginning was, it was Wild West. It was, we would come back and look around and be like, well, hope we get that one.
I know. And we had to, the market was so crowded here and there's some good firms here.
Yeah.
And we just knew if we were going to stand out, we needed to have some really big names. Yeah. So that way when we kept pitching, those were brands we could show on our pitch books and just like establish credibility. So, our strategy at that point was like, let's go after the big stuff. Like, let's go after brands that people know here. So, yeah, that was definitely between Creighton and I think Scooters. Those were kind of our launching point.
There was that. And then, those paid off. We put in the work there and those paid off. And that was exciting. Those were anchors for us. Yes. So I guess to anybody listening, it's like the perseverance there, I think, is the big character trait with both of us. Like,
yes. I think the other word I was thinking of was confidence too. Like there are so many times I think I personally was like questioning my own confidence. And then it's like, you have to keep being able to be like, you got this. It's like a lot of self-pep talks. I don't know.
There is. I think that for me, I think that happens with a lot of creative people sometimes. Like being a creative, like I see that people say that they run into those moments where like they just don't know. Like, I've done this so much, I've made so many of these things, I'm not even sure if this is good anymore. And so you have to have somebody like look at it and go like, yeah, the team part of that is huge. And now that we've grown, that on both sides, like for, you know, accounts and media and for creative, like we have a team that we bounce ideas off of. Ideas come from them. It's really collaborative, and I love that. I always will. And that's where we can get a lot of that, like, oh, okay, so this is cool, and I'm not an idiot, and this isn't, you know, this isn't like
I'm an expert,
the 14th cup of coffee talking.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
But yeah, so let's talk about one other thing. Let's talk about what is the strangest pitch that you think we had?
Oh, God.
Or the strangest like new biz thing that we had? What do you?
Yeah. The first person I think of, I will continue to use the fake name that we created for this person. So, you know, we were going to meet with Stutch. And Stutch was in charge of quite a few locations regionally. We were so pumped. We got these meetings set, and, you know, we had a couple decent meetings, but it did take some, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Like nudging, because a couple times we showed up and like, he forgot we were going to meet, or just life happens, and I get it. I remember one time, I think I was texting him just as a reminder that we were coming by, and you and I showed up slightly early for the meeting, and he was like coming out of the back alleyway, wandering up the stairs. I'm pretty sure he was trying to run away and not go to the meeting, and we were like, hey, are we still meeting today? And he kind of had that look like, oh my gosh, dang it, they saw me. Here we go. Okay, yep, yeah, you're right. I was just coming out for fresh air. I don't know.
He literally came up this is exactly what I was thinking of too. He literally came up the steps and was like 3 steps from hitting like the main, because their office was like a sub level underneath an office building. Like, it's a lower level. So he came up out of like the dungeon. He was like 3 steps from the top, and you saw his head. He looked at us, and we were getting out of the car, and we turned and looked at him, and he looked at us, and he turned around and went back down the steps. And like, and then he was gone. And then like we went in and talked to the receptionist or secretary, or whatever, and like she's looking at us. He was just here, and we're like, well, we have a meeting with him at 10, and she's like, well, he was just, I don't know, and then we had to just leave. So I think we went in the car, and we saw. We did our counseling with our barista friends again, and then we went back to the office and, you know, regrouped.
Yes. And we did meet with him a few times. That one just wasn't going to work out for whatever, you know. And I do feel like over the years too, when those kinds of things happen, like it's probably a good thing on both parties. Cause like, I do really feel like the people we partner with, they fit our personality and vice versa. And if you like try to push too hard, you know, it just isn't going to be a good fit. But yeah, that one was funny. What about we took the tour over at the granary before they've done like all the awesome new development. It was just a scary abandoned warehouse, basically, or like barn.
So people listening, Shana has this issue with steps.
Okay.
And the fact that they all should be closed. They should never be open.
They freak me out. I think I have like a weird vertigo. Also, for people listening, it's like, and I've always had this question. I don't know, maybe you can answer today. Like, I look at the stairs as I'm walking up. I don't look above them. So it freaks me out to see the hole going through.
Well, I think for me, I'm able to walk and chew gum at the same time. Okay. So I don't. I just look up to where I'm going. See, for me, it's all about where I'm going.
I'm gonna watch. Make sure that stair's solid.
You were
my
really
foot on it.
you were really leery of it, and it's an old this is an old building. They were turning it into like this community space, which is now. It's beautiful.
Oh, it's awesome.
But like
we wanted to get them as a client.
Yeah, there was a grain elevator from like the 1920s or 1910s or the teens or tons or whatever they call that. The aughts. I don't know. It was built for somebody. Terrible. It was built for one of Willy Wonka's Oompa Loompas. It was about that wide, and the stairs were that wide, and they were spiral, like tight. So basically, it was either we're going to go up and see an empty space, or there's a serial killer living at the top of this thing, and we're all going to die.
Oh God! The first level,
dark,
sketch.
Yeah, and the first level, they had some folks that were
staying there.
I think they might have been staying there.
Yeah, there was skateboard ramps and sleeping bag. Like,
that part I thought was cool.
Weird. Oh well, okay.
You know, 80s kid in me, I was like, yeah.
And I was like, we need to probably continue back down the stairs. Dave's like, no, well, let's continue to go up.
Right. So I think Yeah, so I think that was legit. I think your fear there was legit. My biggest fear was not so much the steps, but the trap doors in the floor.
Oh,
because in
God,
a granary, there's like these big chutes that go from way up to way down, and if you fall in one of those, we're just going to pretend you didn't exist.
Yeah, you are gone.
They are like, it's a big the trap door opens, big black hole. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they refurb this thing, and it's
oh, it's amazing.
I had to do voices for things like when there was, you get smaller clients, you're starting out. It's
well, we
local
were
things.
taking people that like maybe didn't even know their potential sometimes and growing their business exponentially, but we had to get very clever with how we're going to use the budgets the first time around.
Right. And there's not like I'm not poo-pooing this at all. It was fun. Like I have fun doing that. I love doing voiceover, love doing character voices. I did all that stuff for like, our Berry Farm client. And then like we had a costume shop, sort of holiday store that did radio ads. And I was in here at night because honestly, I don't even know if you knew this. I was sort of embarrassed to do those reads while everybody was in the office, because my office, even though our partner who built this said like, oh, the walls are soundproof. They're not. And I could yell out of them and people could hear them. Like 2 rooms over, I'd do something and come out and somebody'd be laughing, be like, that was awesome. I could hear you doing that.
Yeah.
I'd be like, well, I don't want this. I want like, I need Superman's Fortress of Solitude, man. I need to hide in here.
Yeah. Cause you were like Dr. Jekyll over the years. What else?
I was
tackling witches.
I was the Frankenstein. I was the Frankenstein monster. I was also Dr. Frankenstein. But we didn't name them. We just used them as characters. I pitched up my voice to be a witch in the background of something, horror movie stuff, pirates. I was a surfer dude for quite a few years for an amusement park for Funplex. Yeah. It was me just like pulling everything from every bit of pop culture I had to, dude, all that stuff. And
to this day too, we can still hear him. And I'm like, I can hear Dave.
Yeah. Dave's underneath. Hey, dude, why don't you come down to the park, eh? Okay. So like that stuff was kind of us just getting it done however we had to get it done. That helped us. That actually helps us. And like for you, your experience too is you came up through like print and placement and stuff like that. And you learned from a lot of folks at agencies prior. But I think that's what, like, we both sort of just showed up at the right time and had the skill set to be like, well, if we have to do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this.
Yeah, I think my biggest stretch where I was kind of like learning as we went when we first started was account managing. Yeah. Because again, I was like media buyer. I was account managing at the previous agency, but I just didn't see that in myself necessarily. So yeah, learning how to like manage an account, pitch an account. What's it take to like maintain an account, and then, on the buying side, it's like then doing all the buys by yourself. Even you and I were like building out our own website at first, by ourselves. Yeah. There was just a lot you just had to do,
you had to. All the developers out there that do UX and everything. Cause I still don't like that is like calculus homework to me.
Yeah.
No.
Well, same with like even our team that does, like our digital buying in-house.
Oh, yeah.
When I was doing media buying, I was doing a lot of it myself. So I'd say in-house, still like structuring buys together and all that good stuff. But I was never like on the back end of like Meta having to figure out the dashboards. Same thing with like a lot of our partners now. And you have to be. I mean, now you have to. Right. So it's like I could kind of figure it out, but I, like you said, with the UX stuff, it's like, that was not my specialty.
Yeah. But I mean, at the time we were both kind of like, well, if it's got to get done, it's got to get done.
Yeah.
And I think that's a strength now because with staff under us now, they know, or at least I hope they know that 2 of them are in the room right now. That like we came from doing all the stuff that they touch now.
Right.
For the most part. Like we got in all that stuff and we were, so I think being a good leader in a creative situation or a business sales, whatever is like, have you been there?
Right.
Like nobody's born into being a manager or born into being a boss. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying like, I think everybody has a different path and that path helps when you have people work for you because they know like, okay, they get it.
Well, yeah. And they can actually come to you and have a really good conversation around their day to day. And like if they need, I don't know, if you need to have their back in a conversation with, let's say, a client and kind of like, maybe they're not in the meetings, but you are like, okay, download all this information to me. I respect what you do day to day. I love media buying, you know, and that's not always the case.
Right. It's not for me.
No, I was going to say, and even at like some agencies where I was at, like that wasn't even always the case. Right. So then there's a little bit of a gap sometimes in conversations. And so I feel like when you kind of do the work or appreciate this, I'm going to call it like art or craft, then you are going to sit down and really listen to that team and you're going to help support their category in the business that we represent too. Like we're going to be the first to like build up their team further, you know, where some people might look at just the numbers and go, you know what? Nah, we don't want to add extra people here to help or support this department. It's like, no, I mean, you know, if you appreciate what they're doing and you can have a good conversation around it, like we've been really good about like understanding that and like building the teams, getting software to help what they do day to day, you know, even our team, when they originally wanted to take digital in-house, that was something I was a little nervous about. I'm like, we've always used partners, but I mean, they did a really good job, like stating their case and, you know, having data to support and back up that information. And then in return, it helps our clients immensely because we approve and listen and, you know, activate, and it cuts their cost per thousands down in half. So I think having those conversations, like you said, like listening to your team has helped us.
Yeah, it's been great. I just, that whole thing I think that was an important part of our sort of agency DNA, I guess, or, you know, you and I starting it up.
Yeah. Everybody's got a seat at the table, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Let's switch gears for a second. Think way back, right? You're young. You're watching TV on Saturday.
I do have a 3-year-old, so my brain capacity is limited nowadays.
Right. No, I know you do.
But I'll try.
I've been through that.
Okay.
Well, I'm actually now full circle to where I have the brain capacity of a 3-year-old after having kids that are older and you know. But the very first ad that you can remember ever seeing. What is the very first ad that you think you ever? Her eyes got really big.
I know. I'm like, whoa! First ad I've ever seen. Jeez.
Like you're a little kid, and the first thing, like a jingle, or like what was the first brand that like stuck in your head? You're like, I remember this.
I actually don't know. I feel like I don't remember the brand, but here's the thing that I do remember: Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
And being just like in awe of every new toy that would be, you know, on in those morning commercials. Like, so that, and then Friday TGIF.
Yep.
As you got a little older, like all the shows. Do you remember all those shows? Oh my gosh. I had to be home for TGIF. So like whatever.
Perfect Strangers? I mean,
whatever ads like would be, or Full House.
Right.
Oh gosh. But yeah, Saturday morning cartoons. I just remember always on my Christmas list, I had every toy. My mom would be like, oh God, can you just like not watch Saturday morning? Because that ends up on your Christmas list every year. Every year. So I don't know.
So see, that's interesting. That's what that was for. Those ads.
They did a good job.
And same, I remember those things. That's probably for me too. I'd say for me, it was either, I mean, that's a part of, I think, my whole childhood, because I grew up, I'm 5 years younger than you, or older than you. So I have like a little bit of more of the, like the 80s retro cartoon in my brain. And all those ads, I mean, kids playing with G.I. Joes.
He-Man and She-Ra.
Oh my God. And the stuff was always never, like, you never could recreate what somebody on a commercial set would do with a G.I. Joe. They had their little customized little lakes and a thing. There was always all this stuff in an ad, all of that work that they did to make those sets. And it created a problem for my parents too, because then I was like, there was one point where we're getting off on a little tangent here, but like,
well, I feel like people could appreciate this because we all grew up with brands that we love.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, and we have that nostalgia still today.
But you remember the He-Man and She-Ra stuff?
Oh, yes, I do. And I remember my mom taking me to see them at Gordman's. And then right when we got up for me to be next in line, screamed and cried. And she had to walk out. And I was like, I'm sorry. She goes, you did that all the time. You were just, you know, dead set to meet this person. Right. And then anywhere we would go, I'd be like, are you sure you're going to do this time? Yep. Bawling.
Yeah, exactly.
WWE wrestlers. I don't know if that's what they were then, but like the Hitman Hart, you know, like those guys. Yeah. But the characters.
It's part of the reason why I think I'm the style of creative director I am, is because when I was young, I got influenced by a lot of that stuff.
Yes.
But no, the G.I. Joe, when they did the re-release of the smaller G.I. Joe figures in the 80s, that was a force.
Yeah.
And I'd say it was a tie for me between like the G.I. Joe toy commercials and then Folgers. For some reason.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That stupid jingle stuck in my head when I was a kid. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. That sticks in my head. And
that's catchy. That one's still, don't they still kind of bring it back every
I think
once
they
in a
might
while?
have brought it back. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think I've heard that. I think that's kind of fun when brands do that, bringing stuff back around after a while.
I like the retro move. And you know this, I hate jingles anymore. Like, I feel like jingles got played out so much, but it might be just the age I am. Like, I just got tired of people trying to sing sentences to me about their product.
Yeah. I think people started to do it kind of a little more hokey, though, as years went on. So it's like, like the good ones were really good. And
like Real Men of Genius was awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
that was a good one.
But,
yeah, that's a good one. But when you try to I don't know, put a call to action in your jingle or I don't know, stuff like that over the years.
Cars for Kids.
Yeah. What is that one?
Oh,
I don't remember
1877 Cars for Kids. Really?
No. Is that new?
No.
Is that now?
That's
okay.
probably an East Coast thing. I think a little bit more.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Really?
Earworm. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just sticks with you.
What about the Micro Machine guy?
Yes.
He was freaking awesome.
That was, I was a little further in, but I remember getting
I feel like that's
too.
the influencers back in the day, and your favorite hero would be, or athlete. A lot of times it was athletes would be on the covers of cereal boxes and.
Still are.
Yeah. Yes.
Micro Machine guy. What? Okay. Here's a quiz. What was the first ad he was in? Before he did Micro Machines for Galoob? What company was he a spokesperson for, or a character for?
Was he? He was. I don't know that. I know he was an auctioneer at one point, right? And that's why he got the job. But I actually have no idea where he was at.
FedEx.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
You can look it up. He was in FedEx commercials.
Oh man, is that crazy?
Yeah. Alex is going to.
Where's he at now? Anybody know?
No, I don't. I don't even know how old he is.
Yeah. Oh.
So, but anyway, that was a fun.
Dead. He's not maybe even dead, and I'm like, oh.
That's a fun little trip down memory lane.
Somebody look it up.
Nostalgia, am I right?
Yeah.
But yeah, well, I mean, that's this thing about all of these ads is something memorable, and I think that's what. Thinking back about you and I talking about what influenced us or what our why was, what our goal was, I wanted to make something memorable. I got influenced by pop culture really big, like I said. Yeah. And that was a big thing to me. It's how do I get into creating the cool shit that I see?
See, on my side of it, it's I wanted to help people grow their business, no matter what it was. Well, so advertising does that for you. Immensely. You get people to move.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that's where I was kind of I love that. I wanted to get involved with, production somehow as a kid. I don't know how to do this, but I watch Back to the Future and oh my God, people made that. That looks really fun. Yes. So, but you remember all those ads and they stick with you. And I think I wanted to make good work like that. Even when I was younger, I want to create something that people remember that would be really cool,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I think this honestly was a really good convo for a pilot. I hope this sounds good because we don't even know yet.
Yeah,
When the file comes off the card, we're not even sure at the moment. This could be, he could have just stopped recording a while ago. We have no idea.
No, that's true. And we didn't even get into how much we love astrology or Taco John's.
Well,
we just had no idea where this was going to go. So
yeah, well, that's one of us.
But at least it was interesting.
Astrology is one of us, not both of us. I tolerate.
You come on board.
I tolerate those things.
Yeah.
But yeah, Taco John's got us through a lot of work days. Actually, there was a lot of Taco John's.
If
runs.
they're listening, we would love you as an account too. If we could get paid in potato lays, it'd be okay.
Right. I'm super interested in getting John Cena to sponsor you guys. So can you?
Oh my god!
That Taco John Cena, please.
Okay,
please.
That's hilarious.
Yes. We'll make it work.
Yeah.
He's expensive. We'll
figure it out.
Yeah.
We got it. We got you.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tolerating us for whatever time length this was. We really appreciate it. And future podcast episodes are coming soon. So keep your eyes open.